Meet the sheriffs.
Let's go and introduce ourselves.
We're High Court enforcement officers.
We're here today to execute a High Court writ.
Their job is to get you your money back.
An arrestable offence to stop me in doing my job.
If you've been ripped off and don't know where to turn,
I'm not waiting anymore.
I'm ordered to seize goods to clear this debt, which would mean clearing this place out.
if you've been to court but still not been paid what you're owed,
Why don't you just tell me who you are?
This is an absolute crop. You need to pay this.
it's time to call the sheriffs.
I've seized your car, sir.
You can either let us through the door or we'll go through the window.
Whoa.
They're enforcement officers of the High Court, and the law says they're on your side.
It's collected 42 grand.
Coming up, Sue Bodkin's van broke down after just a few days.
I was left without a van and I was devastated.
Sheriffs Lawrence and Kev visit the garage that sold it to her. Can they get her what she's owed?
You need to sort this out today, or we will strip this garage bare.
This one going?
Yes.
This one's going, sorry, man.
In London, the sheriffs are evicting squatters from a barricaded building.
I've got a writ of possession for the property and you're getting evicted this morning.
But as tensions rise, can the eviction be completed peacefully? And sheriffs Darryl and Mark are in pursuit of an old adversary with a huge debt.
I was gobsmacked. It's a figure in excess of 7 million.
But where is the elusive debtor?
John.
He's done one. He's ran upstairs and hid.
But first, at Greenwich in South London, a commercial building has been occupied by squatters. Since squatting in residential property was criminalised, they're occupying a wider range of commercial buildings. But wherever they go, if the landlord gets a writ of possession in the High Court, the squatters can be evicted within days, with the help of the sheriffs. This morning they face a real challenge. The building has been barricaded by the squatters. Can the landlord's locksmith get the sheriffs in? Leading the eviction is Enforcement Officer Conrad Van Zyl.
We don't know how many occupants are inside. We've got a locksmith with a High Court writ. We've got the power to force entry and obtain possession back to the client.
The landlord wants to redevelop this one-time photographic studio, but this is the second time squatters have occupied the building. It has several entrances, all with high security doors.
We're just assessing around the building, and as soon as we find a suitable place, we'll attempt to go inside.
With the locksmith on standby for now, the sheriffs will attempt to talk their way in.
Hello? Hello? Anybody inside?
There's no response from inside the building. The landlord's locksmith will now try to force entry. The new approach gets some attention.
Good morning, mate. Enforcement officers from the High Court. Got a High Court writ of possession for the property. You've been evicted. Do you want to waken everyone up?
Excuse me, what are you doing?
We are enforcement officers of the High Court. I've got a writ of possession for the property and you're getting evicted this morning.
Yeah, but nobody gave us papers or anything.
I've got a legal document that gives me the power to obtain possession of this property.
You better start packing your belongings.
Defeated by the jammed lock, the locksmith is going to try the second door. Meanwhile, some of the squatters have come down into the alleyway.
I've got a writ of possession for the property. Yeah, you can have a look at it. No.
You're not filming me.
While Conrad talks to the squatters, the locksmith attempts the second door.
I'm showing it to you. Once inside, I'll show you.
This time, the outer door opens.
At the minute, they've barricaded the property from the inside. There's a couple of them on the side of the building, and we now attempt the negotiation process to see whether they want to open or not.
At the alleyway fence, the squatters are claiming they should have seen paperwork. But the sheriffs know that a live High Court writ is all they need.
Would I see your paper, please?
Say again.
You would like have one copy of this paper?
No, that's not how it works, mate. That's not how it works. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
No.
That's how it's going to be, because
It's not how it works.
We are in democracy.
Well, there's no point shouting from up there, show me the papers, and I've got it in my hand, is there? Come on down, I'll show you it. I haven't got, like, massive arms to give it up to you. Come on down, I'll show you it.
The roller shutter has been jammed from the inside and won't open. It can't be saved.
We just cut it with a grinder, just go through it.
Meanwhile, the police have arrived, called by the squatters.
Yeah, I don't know.
I tell you what it is.
Yep.
I'm a High Court enforcement officer. There's my badge.
Yep, lovely.
That's the writ from the High Court that gives us the power to enter the property this morning.
Right.
The locksmith is still unable to get into the building, but the squatters have got out.
Well, why did you come out?
Yeah.
Let's talk, yeah? No, listen, I'm going to explain it to you, yeah? Stop talking over the top of me. I've already explained it to your colleague. Listen, this is a High Court writ of possession for this property. You're in a commercial building, you're squatting, okay? Right, writ number 66. Claimant, the person that owns the property. Defendant, persons unknown, i.e. you and your colleagues, right? Bit about the Queen, bit about the authorised officer. Tells you a bit more what I'm commanded to do, which means I've got to cause the claimant to have possession of this property, which you're in. What else would you like to know?
They are still arguing about the legality of the eviction.
No, there's no talking to be had, real lawyer. You're being evicted.
I think it's my...
No, listen.
We are still in democracy.
No, listen.
Officer,
Okay, okay.
This one.
Excuse me, you keep telling me you're still in democracy, yeah? This gives me the power to remove you. You're unlawfully in this property. Simple, okay? I've showed you it 2 or 3 times. I've told you who I am. I've explained this to you. We're kicking around in circles. What you need to do is start packing your belongings.
Another of the squatters thinks there's something wrong with the date of the writ. But the sheriffs have heard enough, and so have the police.
Now listen, okay? I'm trying to give you a benefit of the doubt, just give you a chance to pack all the belongings. Otherwise, he'll lock it, put a padlock on it, and the stuff will still be in there.
You've probably been evicted by the County Court Bailiff, which is a different process than High Court. County Court Bailiff will tell you when he's coming, and they'll turn up at a date and time. I don't.
Yeah.
That's how it is. I don't.
The locksmith has gone back to the first door. One of the landlords has arrived.
We can't waste longer to attempt to go in. Is there any way we can smash this and get inside?
Although the police were called by the squatters, the law is on the side of the sheriffs. So now they're going to assist with the eviction. The locksmith ramps up his efforts. But as the door continues to give the locksmith trouble, one of the landlord's colleagues arrives with something that should help. He has the keys.
This one? I think this is for the front one. Do you want to stick your hand and see if you can open that front one, please? Thanks.
So we're in. So we've managed to open the first door, and now we're going through the shutter door.
The shutter doors are still jammed from the inside, and the police are talking to the occupants. When we return, we'll see what happens when the sheriffs get inside.
I've got a legal document to evict you.
Enforcement officers, known since Saxon times as sheriffs, have special powers.
We're High Court enforcement officers.
We're higher than a bailiff.
Sheriffs can enter residential premises through an open or unlocked window or door.
Don't put your hands on me.
Once inside, even the police can't get them out.
If you want to phone the police, that's your prerogative, sir. Not a problem at all.
I'm not leaving, no. I'm an enforcement officer with a High Court writ.
But refuse a sheriff entry to a commercial building,
Your director says you're not allowed to let me in.
and you can't keep them out.
I'm going to call the locksmith then, sir.
They're permitted to force entry,
I'll get the crowbar out of my van.
to seize goods, or return a building to its rightful owners. Sheriffs Lawrence Grix and Kev McNally are heading down to the seaside.
We're heading down to Hastings, down the A21,
Is that how Harold got one through the eye?
allegedly.
Lawrence and Kev turn to the matter in hand.
It's 8:15 in the morning. We're going to Hewenden Road Garage Limited on behalf of Ms Susan Bodkin, and we're looking today to seize goods to the value of £1,857.90.
They're on their way to help professional puppeteer Sue Bodkin.
And he's called Pirate Pete. My name is Pirate Pete.
She's been entertaining children and adults with her puppet performances for more than 15 years.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. You've got very kind children.
Sometimes she uses an innovative portable booth.
The way my booth's made, I disappear. So they really can create a world of wonder for them. And they think it's much more real than it actually is.
Sue planned to offer more ambitious puppet shows, but for that she would need transport.
Before I'd just been using my small little booth, which I could take on a bus or walk about in, and I thought it's about time I make a bigger show and have someone help me. I thought, well, I've only got a small car, so I need to get a larger vehicle. But I actually live on very little money, and I'm on sort of working tax credit, so it can be a bit of a struggle.
Looking round for a vehicle that would fit the bill, she happened to pass local dealers' Hewenden Road Garage when she spotted a bright yellow van.
I was quite excited, but I thought, no, calm down, it might be a wreck. He took me out, the garage owner, Philip, and it seemed okay, and it wasn't too expensive.
Loving the van, she paid £400 in cash for it and traded in her old car, making a total of £750 for the van. A big investment on a small budget. She took it home, but just days later she ran into problems.
I tried to start the van and it wouldn't start, and I noticed the warning light was on, and I thought, oh no.
Sue got the van restarted, but she continued to have problems with the engine cutting out.
I began to get more and more concerned because as I was driving about, the van would suddenly cut out and then I'd be stuck on a roundabout or up a hill, and I felt quite scared in that position because I had people honking the horn, getting impatient, and I thought, I don't feel safe in this vehicle and I won't be able to drive it anymore, and I need to go back to the garage and definitely sort this out for good.
Sue asked Hewenden to fix the van and was told the problem was a fuel filter. She paid £40 to fix this and drove the van away, but it was far from the end of her problems.
The next day it was still as bad. I thought, no, this is not good enough, so I decided to go to another garage and get it fully checked out.
The new garage told her the problem was the engine control unit, or ECU. She went back to Hewenden to demand they fix this.
Basically, he said that he could fix it for me, but it would be another £450. And I said, but if this was a problem, surely you should be fixing it, because I bought it from you and it was only a little while ago.
If the car wasn't fit for purpose, consumer law means Sue had the right to have it fixed or get a refund. Encouraged by her family, Sue contacted Hewenden Road Garage, insisting they fix the faulty van they had sold her.
Every time we tried to contact the garage by letter or by telephone, he just refused to have any contact.
Sue's plans to expand her business had to be put on hold.
And then I was left without a van, and I was devastated because I had no way of doing my work and I had no vehicle to get about.
Sue was left with no alternative but to take the garage to court. Hewenden didn't attend the hearing and a judgment was issued in Sue's favour. The garage then applied to have this set aside, but their appeal was thrown out. But despite the court awarding Sue £890, she's still not been paid. Her only hope of seeing her money now rests with the sheriffs. Lawrence and Kev have arrived at Hewenden Road Garage in pursuit of Sue's money. The garage is full of equipment the sheriffs could seize, but the one thing missing is the boss. A few minutes later, one of the engineers gets him on the phone.
Hello there, sir.
The garage owner tells Lawrence that he's aware of the debt, but claims he doesn't have to pay it. But Lawrence knows otherwise.
The court ordered you to pay, didn't it, sir? Well, yes, it did.
The owner says he'd agreed Sue would return the faulty vehicle to him, but as she hasn't, he won't pay. This is something Sue Bodkin strongly disputes.
That's not what we're here to sort out today. We have a writ here ordering us to seize goods to clear this debt. You need to sort this out today, or we will strip this garage bare.
Faced with the alternative, the owner agrees to come down. But Lawrence warns him not to delay any further.
Quick as you can, because we do charge waiting time per hour that we're here. OK? Cheers. Bye-bye.
If the owner doesn't pay, gear will be seized, and in a workshop full of tools and equipment, there's plenty of choice.
There's well enough equipment to warrant seizing it and removing it if needed to be. Hopefully it won't come to that.
And then Kev spots something that chills even a seasoned enforcement officer.
Freddy Krueger in the corner. Not sure we'll be taking him. Probably quite collectible because he's quite realistic. Collector's auction, he'll probably go down quite well. I'll list their Freddy Krueger down just in case.
The owner's not yet in, but his son is, and he's familiar with the story.
You know about the case, do you?
Yeah, sold the van and about 6 months later the customer went after it.
Lawrence and Kev have already been at the garage over 40 minutes when the owner, Mr. Koronic, the man who sold Sue her yellow van, arrives. Lawrence loses no time in setting out the situation.
Bottom line is, Ms. Bodkin got judgment against you, and with all the additional court costs and our fees, it's $1,857.90, which needs to be paid today. If you want to pay us in full, that will prevent further action today.
I can't pay because I need time to sort this out.
If you're telling me that you can't pay it, then I'm going to call in the trucks and start emptying the place now, because obviously the longer it takes, the more money it costs. And it's quicker to get it done now than it is to sort of drag out an argument for 2 hours.
But the garage owner believes none of the goods can be seized.
I can assure you that everything here is personal tools and the rest of it's all on finance anyway, and I've got proof of all finance, and you know you can't remove finance
Right,
stuff.
do you want to get your finance paperwork?
I've got all my finance paperwork.
Yeah, do you want to show us that?
I can do, yes.
You can't tell us things, you need to prove things.
The owner phones for advice.
Do you want to go? Yeah. No, go on.
I'll just cut the camera.
At this point, our camera is asked to stay outside. The owner says he can't afford to pay.
The guy's just been on the phone to the bank to see if he can get his credit card limit upped.
2.5 hours after the sheriffs walked into the garage, a business advisor arrives at the request of the garage owner. He gets the owner to produce paperwork showing much of the kit in the garage is on finance and can't be seized. But having counted up the agreements, Lawrence believes one of the diagnostic machines is not on finance. He just has to find which one.
Obviously that one we can tie in because of the number. At the moment, this one we can't.
Bingo. They find the machine owned by the garage and seize it to help repay Sue's debt. Kev's keen to get the machine into the van as quickly as possible.
It's left the premises.
Bring it back.
You haven't shown me the agreement?
We're sorting it out.
My colleague just said, hold up, wait there. My colleague just said bring us back. Lawrence?
Yeah, on my way.
This one going?
Yes.
This one's going, sorry mate.
We've looked at all we've looked at all the agreements and it isn't on there.
So we've just got a bit of diagnostics kit here. Generally quite expensive. Continue to go through the list, see what other stuff they got. Hopefully there'll be some other stuff that we can remove as well, get in the van.
With only one diagnostic machine, Kev and Lawrence are keen to take some smaller items so that their value at auction covers the debt owed to Sue.
These are skates. Put them under the wheels of a car. It's a multi-function fuel pressure tester. Timing toolkit for a Renault. It appears Freddie's coming with us for today. I might put him in the front instead of Lawrence. He'd be more use, wouldn't he? He'd be a lot more interesting to talk to.
Their equipment is disappearing out the door, but Hewenden Road Garage is still refusing to pay. The sheriffs have already been here almost 4 hours. How much longer will it take for Lawrence and Kev to get Sue Bodkin the money she's owed? Back at the squat in Greenwich, it's crunch time. The sheriffs and plainclothes police have been explaining to the squatters that they will be evicted today. The squatters aren't cooperating, and even though the landlord's locksmith has failed to get through the barricaded doors, the sheriffs will get in.
To be honest with you, Conrad, I'm just going to smash it completely to smithereens.
Just smash it a bit. Smash it on the lock side. Just bash it. That's it, that's it, that's it. Nice work. Got a legal document to evict you?
Yeah, we are just packing our stuff.
Oh, now you're packing. Now you're packing. It's an arrestable offence if you don't adhere to the command of High Court Enforcement Officer.
With the sheriffs finally inside, the mood changes. The majority of the squatters realise the game is up and start packing their things.
Now you've got 10 minutes to pack and leave.
The sheriff's job now is to get the occupants packed and out as quickly as possible.
When you pack up, just make sure you've got all your stuff. Because once you're outside, you won't be able to get back inside. No problem, thank you. At this stage, they've been quite helpful and they pack up their stuff and they are most willing to leave the premises.
The squatters are cooperating, but they still believe in their case.
Rich people have lots of property and poor people have nothing.
The very same
so I believe the law is wrong.
Yeah.
But I understand that you're saying this is the law and we have to leave and it belongs to this person. I understand.
I'm not in a position to question.
I know you're not because you follow the law. I'm in a position to question it because I've got a free mind.
As the squatters prepare to leave, Conrad assesses the state of the property.
We don't want to be funny about the occupants inside. We respect everybody's beliefs, but it's the state and the condition that they're able to get these properties into, and that causes a lot of financial damage to the owners of these properties. Come on, young man.
Young lady.
Young lady, come on, young lady.
Although the mood is lifted, the landlord isn't as positive, because he's been through it all before with a previous group of squatters, evicted just a few months ago.
It's just a circle of debt, cost, time, and it just seems you get nothing at the end of the day. You know, once they take it over, they apparently have the right to be able to use all your electric, water, waste, whatever you need. There's no relief from the councils on it, no cost put on them, all on the owner again.
It's been quite a siege, but now the sheriffs are where they want to be.
We're inside. Now we're occupying the premises. They're out and we're inside. All evicted. They're in front of the premises now, obviously waiting to go. But we're happy, we're satisfied, and so is the landlord and the owner.
Last series, the sheriffs paid an early morning call to Leicestershire dentist John Hammond. He'd borrowed money from an elderly lady for a business venture, but hadn't paid her back.
We're ordered here by the court today to seize goods to the value of £10,706.66.
With 2 High Court enforcement officers on his doorstep, he soon decided to pay up in full. You might have thought that would be the end of the matter, but it isn't. The elderly lady isn't the only person owed money by the dentist. One of the others is IT contractor Andrew Dixon from Kegworth in Leicestershire. Andrew has known Mr. Hammond for many years.
I've known him since my late teens to early 20s as my dentist, and he's always been very affable and approachable. I never had any fear with him.
Andrew had been saving for his upcoming retirement, looking forward to spending less time working and more on his pastimes like metalworking. His problems started when, during one of his regular visits to the dentist surgery, they got to discussing a business plan Mr. Hammond had.
He was explaining to me that he had interest in commercial property, warehouses particularly, and he was looking for an investment of $100,000. And over time we talked about it, and it ended up I made an investment of $10,000.
The dentist told Andrew he would earn 10% interest a year on his loan and would receive the interest in regular instalments.
He always backed it up with, and of course I have a dental practice that turns over $200,000 a year, so I personally will guarantee this. I never felt my money would be under any risk at all.
Andrew received 2 interest payments and was awaiting his third when Mr. Hammond came back to him with another request for money.
He approached me for a short-term loan, 60 days, and allow him to take up an opportunity of buying shares in a vehicle which he thought was going to be very productive and rewarding. I loaned him $35,000, which he said would be useful for the 60 days.
But after 60 days, the promised full repayment hadn't materialised. Andrew chased him up.
He said to me he'd forgotten, and during the course of that conversation he explained that he was struggling to find the money to repay me and would need a few more months before he'd have the money to repay me the $35,000. I'd also noticed that there'd been a shortage of interest payments on the original $10,000 loan. I realised after various conversations with John that this money was not going to be coming back.
Andrew visited a financial advisor who told him he was by no means alone in being owed money by Mr. Hammond.
When I first saw the paperwork showing the amount that was owed by John Hammond, I was gobsmacked. Absolutely floored me. The amount John Hammond owes, my understanding is it's a figure in excess of $7 million.
Knowing he was one of many owed money by Mr. Hammond hasn't made it any easier dealing with the financial impact.
The loss of the $45,000 has meant I've had to slow down preparation for retirement, and it's taken me some time to work out really what I need to do and reassess my whole life.
In an attempt to get back his money, Andrew took his ex-dentist to court. Mr. Hammond didn't contest the case, and a judgment was issued in Andrew's favour, but he still hasn't been paid. The court awarded Andrew just under £80,000, but with interest, costs and sheriff's fees, that amount's now risen to over £87,000. It's now up to the sheriffs to try and get this money back. The £87,000 owed may be only a fraction of the £7 million that's claimed by Mr. Hammond's creditors, but it's a big total for enforcement officers Daryl Orriton and Mark Povey to collect today. But they've got a good idea of what assets might be available to use as leverage.
We're going to his home address. We know he's got a Jaguar, which we're hoping is going to be on the drive, get that blocked in. Don't think it's a great value. Let's hope we can get into his house, put a bit of pressure on, and see if we can get this money raised.
There's no sign of the Jaguar, and it doesn't seem anyone's home. But eventually, Daryl's persistence pays off.
Good morning.
Sorry, but what's happening?
Right, we're looking for John. Is he at work? We're High Court enforcement officers. Could you get him on the phone for us?
Mr. Hammond's wife tells Daryl her husband has applied for an individual voluntary arrangement, or IVA, a form of insolvency. She says it will be agreed within the week and makes all of his debts unenforceable.
Right, so there's nothing in place at the moment then. Could you just get John on the phone for me?
Mrs. Hammond goes inside to try and get hold of husband John, leaving the door open. Daryl uses his powers as a sheriff and makes peaceful entry.
Just need to wait in there.
Mrs. Hammond quickly gets her husband on the phone. He claims he has an interim bankruptcy order that protects him from creditors until the IVA is in place. Worried, Daryl needs to know more.
What date did this interim order come? Have you been given a bankruptcy number? Have you got any paperwork here to back that up, John? All right, John. Bye. I'll just step in here. He's telling me there's no money available. He's telling me I can't do anything in there because of this interim order, which, if it is all above board, then that is correct.
If Mr. Hammond can prove the interim order is in place, the sheriffs will have to stop the enforcement. But until proof arrives, Daryl isn't giving up. He seizes goods in the house that might be set against the debt. Then he and Mark set off in pursuit of Mr. Hammond's Jaguar. And arriving at the surgery, there's the Jag. They seize it, prevent it from being driven away, and head to reception.
See what he's got to say for himself.
But who's that heading inside? It's Mr. Hammond. Unfortunately, the dentist has also spotted Daryl and Mark.
Oh, he locked us out. That's not very nice, is it?
Morning.
Morning. I've come for me molars to be done.
Have you?
While Daryl tries the polite way in, Mark checks round the back. And with the tradesman's entrance unlocked, he seizes his chance to make his own peaceful entry.
He locked his door. I think so.
But where's Mr. Hammond? He doesn't seem keen on talking to the sheriffs.
John. John.
Come on, John.
Sorry, man, I was looking for John. John.
We'll hang around for a bit to see if he surfaces. Got his car blocked in.
Daryl's not had a hider like this before.
We've had him walk off. Yeah. Leave us in the house, tell us to lock the door when we're there, and do what? We haven't played hide and seek before, have we?
With Mr. Hammond refusing to come out, Daryl makes a call to Lawrence in the office to discuss his next step.
He's done one. He's ran upstairs and hid. Okay, cheers. Bye. Bye. Bought the car in, but 04 plate. I'll have a little look on Auto Trader, see what the value is, but it ain't going to be 87 grand, is it?
With Mr. Hammond refusing to talk, Daryl and Mark can do nothing else but join the patients in the waiting room. After 10 minutes, Mr. Hammond still doesn't want to show his face, but he sends an employee with the paperwork confirming his interim order.
Has that just come through now, or is it...
It's a body blow for Daryl and Mark's hopes of getting Andrew back the money that was rightfully his.
No other proceedings or no execution or other legal process may be commenced or continued against the debtor or his property, except with the leave of court.
The order means for the time being, no debts can be collected from Mr. Hammond. It's a disappointing end to Daryl and Mark's game of cat and mouse. The worst news for Andrew Dixon is it looks unlikely he or any of Mr. Hammond's many creditors will ever see their money again.
And I think by the time the bankruptcy process has followed through, I'll have let go fully emotionally and learnt my lessons and get on with things, which I'm starting to do now.
Although they couldn't get his money, Andrew is pleased he asked the sheriffs to help.
They've tried the best, and it's very pleasing to know they've been around rattling his doorknob.
At Hewenden Road Garage in Hastings, Sheriffs Lawrence and Kev have been trying to get payment for puppeteer Sue Bodkin. She bought a van which broke down only days later. Lawrence has been patiently going through all of the garage's equipment, seizing items that aren't on finance. Now, after more than 4 hours, garage owner Philip Koronick realises the sheriffs won't be put off. When the sheriffs visit, the debtor must pay their fees. Lawrence and Kev have been kept waiting for hours. So the total bill is now £2,500.
But we've stood around and waited and waited and waited. We've looked at every piece of paperwork you come up. Look, I've said I'll cut it to 2.5, which by the time the money gets here would be 3. So I'm basically knocking 500 quid off your bill, plus the other however many hundred would go on as soon as we turn the wheel away from here to the auctioneers. So I know it doesn't seem like it because there's a lot on top, but you'd get in a good deal at 2.5.
When we initially came here, we did say, if we're going to be here all day, then you will charge in waiting time.
If you're going to do it now. If the 2.5 grand arrives, we'll unload the van, leave your paperwork and we'll be on our way. Simple as that.
The owner agrees, but says he can't afford £2,500. Lawrence settles for £2,000 now, with an agreement for the rest to be paid later. Now the owner wants to put his side of the story.
Bearing in mind this was a year ago and she's had this van for all this time. Then she only tells me out of court afterwards that she's got rid of the van. So I just walked off and said, well, get me the van and I'll give you the £750 back, not knowing that I probably had to go back into the court at the time to actually understand, to say to the judge that, but I didn't. I just thought it was game over, finished, you know, and I haven't got the van back, and I've just been given a load of grief.
But the court didn't order Sue to return the van, and on legal advice, she disposed of it. The court did order the garage to pay up, and that's what they're doing now. The money will be paid on a card by the owner's wife. To make it as quick as possible, the sheriffs, the owner and the seized goods are all on their way to meet her.
So we're off to Eastbourne, basically to save the effort of the debtor going there and back. We're following them there, we'll take the payment from them there, and then we'll make our way from there.
The garage owner still disputes how much he has to pay, but Lawrence points out that the only way he'll stop the total going up anymore is to settle now.
We got there at 8:30, it's 2:30. That's 6 hours. If your wife's got £2,000 now, she had £2,000 at 8:30 this morning, you live in Eastbourne, you could have come and seen her this morning, got her card, come up and paid it. And we'd have been 6 hours better off. If you're not going to pay it, we'll leave you some paperwork and we'll go.
No, pay 2,000, that's it.
No, because you pay 2,000, it still leaves it open for them to come down the workshop. I'm totally in dispute over this, and you know I am, because it started off as a £750 debt. It started off as a £750 debt.
But the sheriffs are here to collect today's debt, which arose because the garage didn't refund Sue Bodkin her money, and then didn't pay when the court ordered. As a compromise, Lawrence says that £2,000 can be paid now, and the rest of the debt settled by payment plan, paying off a small amount each month.
It still has to be paid, but it'll be at X amount a month, as opposed to a big lump.
Finally, they do agree to pay. But disaster strikes. The card machine isn't working.
I've literally just turned it on, and it's coming up return terminal to base station.
As Lawrence works out how to take the money off him, Mr. Koronick reflects on the case.
Unfortunately, I seem to have mucked up on this one because, what with a shortfall of paperwork and not going back into court afterwards when the judge sent us out. So that's it. Yeah, very unhappy.
Now it seems there's a problem with the phone mast in Eastbourne, so they all set off in search of a signal.
What are we going to do if we're not getting a signal? Nothing we can do.
But it becomes clear the problem is the machine, and it isn't going to be fixed, so they all pull over.
What I propose we do is we go our separate ways, you make your payment by whatever method, and then we'll bring your stuff back. It's our fault the damn machine isn't working, so, you know, I'll put myself out now to sort it out, yeah?
Lawrence and Kev drive the seized goods away. It's not been a great end to the day.
That's as bad as it could get.
A nightmare on Elm Street, nightmare in Hastings.
Nightmare in Hastings.
All in all, really, we were about 8 hours and didn't manage to secure a payment. So we've still got the goods in the vehicle. Freddie has got to stay with us overnight tonight, and I'll be returning him in the morning.
Is that the oddest thing we've taken? It's one of the most peculiar.
It's got to be getting there, isn't it?
Yeah. Get your own.
But the nightmare had a happy ending. Some days later, the garage entered into a payment plan, and puppeteer Sue Bodkin finally got the money that is rightfully hers, in full. Sue is visiting a unique piece by Britain's best-known street artist, Banksy. She's chosen this location because she knows her favourite sheriff, Kev, is a Banksy fan. So was it worth taking her claim all the way to the sheriffs?
It shows that if you are struggling and someone takes you for a ride, that if you find the courage, you can go forward and fight for your rights and get people made accountable. I'm really, really grateful to the enforcers for all they've done. So thanks, Kev and Lawrence.
On a sunny afternoon in Norwich, enforcement officers Darryl and Mark are on their way to a rather different sort of debtor. It's not the usual small business. The company they're about to visit is the world's 6th largest insurance company.
going to Aviva Insurance today in the centre of Norwich. It's not a huge debt, it's just over £1,600. They have paid a substantial payment anyway. For whatever reason, the full balance was never paid, so they've obviously upgraded it now to the High Court, so we're there to enforce it.
The case centred around an insurance claim on behalf of a child. Aviva paid the claim amount, but failed to pay the legal costs. The sheriffs are here to get the money that's owed.
It's like our usual sort of line of work, isn't it?
Yeah, just normal run-of-the-mill job, isn't it? Reinforcement officers from the High Courts need to speak to somebody. Yeah, if you could, please.
Take a seat, gentlemen. I'll get someone down for you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
This is one building Daryl and Mark don't mind having a bit of a wait in.
Marble Hall.
It's very nice, isn't it?
But the sumptuous surroundings aren't just easy on the eye. The room is chock full of potentially valuable and seizable decorations. But before we can get a closer look at them, more senior staff arrive and ask us to leave the premises. Remaining inside, Daryl outlines what he's there for.
We've got a High Court writ to execute. You have paid just under £3,000, so I don't know why the remainder hasn't been paid.
The Aviva representative tells Daryl he'll need to look into the case, but that whatever happens, he won't be able to pay the sheriffs today. However, he's happy for them to carry out a walking possession, listing goods that could be removed and sold if they don't pay the next day. Mark gets listing.
I didn't need to seize much. Everything's made of marble in there. I seized a few marble items, really. A few things in the glass cabinets.
A few minutes later, the Aviva man's back. He confirms he can't pay today, but will put a bank transfer in place, which might take a few days to go through.
Give us some printed proof that's gone. I can give you a receipt. We know you're not going anywhere.
And with that, the walking possession is signed, and the enforcement is over.
Yeah, that was a good result. It's all been paid in full. Paid just over £1,600 direct into our account by backs. It was a bit of an oversight on their half. They had a look into it. They paid a substantial amount, but there was just a small bit that was missed for some reason. So it's all cleared up now. So it's a good result.
Following Daryl and Mark's visit, the payment did clear. It's further proof that whether your debt is from a small business or one of the very biggest, it can be recovered by a High Court writ. Aviva told us the judgment related to a claim involving an infant, and that they had paid the damages owed to the claimant promptly and in full, as well as the majority of the costs. They said a misunderstanding over whether the costs were negotiated to a lower level led to an oversight in paying the remaining balance, and hence the delay in payment. They said they did not know about the latter claim until the visit of the enforcement officers, and had they known, they would have paid before any judgment had been issued.
Facing a question of sport tonight, Denise Lewis, Mark Butcher, David Florence and Mark Foster find out how they fare at 10:35 tonight here on BBC One. On the way next, though, the emergency crews are reunited with the victims of a rail crash, with real lives reunited.